All right, guys, we are at the 2019 World Deer Expo. I have Scott Shear over here from Broadside Camo. What's going on, dude?
What's up, brother?
Hey,
Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been awesome, and it's been a busy week
Uh-huh.
so far. I know for you, especially coming down doing a little
Yes.
film project and everything as well.
Yeah, it has.
So we're here to talk about really what you got going on at Broadside.
Thank you.
For anyone that does not know about Broadside Camo, it's something that you kind of, it's been your baby for what, about 6 years or so?
That's right. 6 years. Had the first idea in 13, and I made my first like prototype test sample. Could I actually do something in 13, and then launched spring of 14 with a little small group out of Texas. So
Fantastic. Well, what was the kind of the start of Broadside? Like, what kind of made you want to come up with your own pattern and kind of do your own camo at first?
yeah. So my first hunting, I started hunting. Let me back up. I hunted squirrels when I was a little young teenager, middle schooler. Probably like most of us, you get your BB gun and you go shoot everything you can. I'm shooting birds on a line. I'm shooting squirrel, everything I could get my hold on, frogs and creeks, all that kind of stuff. And then I want to say it was about like my freshman or sophomore year. I put down my fishing pole, I put down my BB gun, and I just never went back outside. But I was outside, but I was playing golf for the high school team, or I'm doing that kind of thing. And then I get a car, and you know what happens then, or at least for me, car meant freedom. Cars meant I want to try to get to my lady friend.
Freedom, girls. Yep.
Freedom, you know how it is. I mean,
yeah.
Young raging hormones as a teenager. So I never really got back into hunting until 34. So I had this really big, like 17, 18-year window, if not more, where I never was in that setting. I was living in downtown Austin, Metroplex, city life, young single bachelor, everything that goes along with that, unfortunately. And I started to really just get empty. Just truth be told and being candid, I'm getting kind of emotional. Thank you. That did not take long. Thank you. I started to really just kind of feel empty, and what I was doing just was worthless. It was meaningless. I had a lot of friends. I had a good car, but what did it do for me? And I never really felt the hole as strong as I was the older and older I got. So as I started to back out of the downtown scene, as I started to get out of look for better, more life-fulfilling hobbies, end of season January 13, I go hunting with my brother-in-law, and I'm sitting over this field, and it's in Texas. I'm from Central Texas. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a native Texan that's now living in Michigan. But I'm sitting over this field. Of course, they've got a feeder. It's this beautiful tank, beautiful field. It's probably about 100 yards long, maybe 300 yard wide is what I could see. And I'm watching the sun come up. I'm sitting in the box, and the sun's coming up, and I'm seeing that dew turn to frost. And it's just like this perfect, serene moment, right? The sun's cresting out. This doe comes walking through, and I text my brother-in-law, like, hey, I've got a doe in front of me. And he says, take her. Like, okay, I know what to do. He'd given me a 30-06, so I'd raise up, shoot her, drop her, and I'm just sitting there watching it. And I see her last breath go out in the mist, just that nice cloud, and I can see the wound is kind of breathing a little bit. And it just had this complete richness that I just loved, and I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. And I said, okay, after that, Dad, I said, I want to hunt with you. I want to be on the lease next year. I want to be able to do this more and more and more. What do I got to do? So he said, okay, excuse me. So we got on, and as I started hunting that next fall, it was ridiculously hot. I had never thought and conceptualized what clothing was like in Texas. I mean, as a Texas native, you just go do your thing. But being in a hunting environment, what that meant, I had no idea. I was a rookie. And I picked up a bow solely so I could get an extra month of hunting in. I was so fiending for hunting and being in that element again that I got a bow. I was like, oh, I shot in like middle school, like summer camp. Yep. I can do this.
Oh, yeah.
So I go to Craigslist because they didn't have Facebook back then. Yes, I'm that old. So I go get these two bows from this guy. I start shooting and start practicing. I get out, and I think I was out September 1st trying to hog hunt. It was my first, and I'm sweating bullets. And as you guys know, South Central Texas, anywhere along, shoot anywhere in August, you're still hot. September is still hot. So I started getting there, and everything I went to the store for, none of it was really the lightweight stuff that I made now. It didn't exist, because what they were doing was taking all the stuff from the Midwest. They make their big bulk orders, and they just push it down to the South, and they go, hey, Southerners, this is what you get.
Suck it.
Deal with it. And it was really before all the performance materials had come out. And that was right at the beginning of like where performance material was starting to take over everything, right? So it didn't exist. But I was already making and manufacturing athletic arm sleeves as fundraisers for high schools, middle schools, Susan G. Komen, locals, and nationals. So I had some apparel making history, just a little bit, but enough. So I sent my manufacturer and said, hey, can I make shirts? Can I make face covers? Can I make long sleeve shirts? Yeah, sure. That's fine. Okay, well, what picture? Any picture you want. Really? Well, in Central Texas, you have to understand it. Realtree doesn't look like any, it doesn't fit. Mossy Oak doesn't fit. No camo that I could find looked like the environment that I was hunting in. So I started taking pictures with my iPhone 4. And when I say pictures with my iPhone 4, I mean, like, if you think back that far, yeah, I think it was like a 4 or 6 megapixel, 4 or 8 megapixel picture. Like, it was basic, but it was great for the time. And so the little picture that I used was maybe a quarter at best of what I actually wanted. And so I'm distorting it. It got all kind of distorted and pictured. But as I'm kind of going through this mental process of what I think I would do, I'm approaching my local bow shop. And I'm saying, hey, this is your shop. You've been in archery a long time. What do you think of this idea? What do you think of this camo look? What do you think of this lightweight stuff? I had athletic arm sleeves, a face cover, and shirt. Right? That was it. So he goes, well, hey, I got a barbecue for you. It's coming up. It's kind of a season opener kickoff. Why don't you try to sell some there? And if you do well, I'll carry it. And, man, I went through the roof. I was like, well, how much are you going to charge me? He goes, nothing. I just want to see if it works too. And if it goes well, I'll carry it. Shoot. So I set up a table. I got arm sleeve shirt and face cover, the wrong colors, the wrong sizes. And in about 4 hours, I did $1,300 of sales.
Oh, dude.
And I went, oh, crap. I got to pay attention to this. Like, there's something real here. And my entrepreneurial brain said, start a business. Like, go for it. Really go for it. And so then it was like, I got to find a manufacturer that does pants and boom, 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 boom. Long story short, I've spent the last 4 or 5 years like going through the ups and downs of apparel world. Now, mind you, I'm probably the number 229th camo on the market. But I think I have a very specific niche, or at least a very different approach than everybody else.
Yes.
And that's really what I get jazzed up about. I really want to educate people on it. Unfortunately, I have to do a lot of educating. That's part of the joy of it, but it's also part of the struggle. But I'm finally at a point now, or at least what I feel like, I'm probably the best position I've ever been from a most complementary line, both in the type of products.
Okay, so with that being said, let's start looking at some terrible photographs. And disclaimer, this
Someone hacked it. All right, so that was cut. All right, so we're going to get going. 3, 2, 1. All
right, so I'm probably at a point now where I have the most complimentary line that I've ever had, both from a design perspective, tree stand, ground blind, cold winter, a heavy gear, a midweight gear, a lightweight gear, and now I've just launched Versalite. So I had Versa before, which is a reversible print. And credit to Art Noki up in Wisconsin, who said, hey, just make it reversible. Like it was just no big thing. You know how some people just can kind of see things differently? That's who this guy is. So I was like, man, I don't want to carry 3 different design lines. That's, I got to do 6 different sizes, both in shirts and pants and jackets and hoodies. And for each design, that's just too much to manage. So for all of you that are thinking about getting apparel, try not to. It's a lot to take on. But he goes, just make it reversible. And he said it was like, oh, you're thirsty, just go get water. Like,
yeah,
oh, you're hungry, just go have some food. He said it that casual and nonchalant. And lo and behold, we made it work. And so I think I could be wrong, but I think I'm the first and only reversible full complementary line on the market. Pants, hoodie, face cover, shirts, 2 different designs, ground and pound, spot and stock, spring turkey, early fall bow, tree stand. Like in one set, you can have all that.
Yep.
Quality material's good. The construction's good. I've got some kind of nuances at the end of the gear that people like. I love it. I'm just such an excited spot right now.
So a little bit more about the closer pattern, which is what you have on. So guys, right now, for anyone listening in their truck or vehicle, we're actually filming this as well. But right now, Scott is actually wearing the Versalite set right now, which is your pants and shirt, correct?
Right, and then face cover and then gloves that go along with it.
Excellent. So the cool thing about this shirt right here is, personally, so you sent us a set, me and both Andrew, and we've been testing it, and I've been extremely impressed, especially with the pants, of how light, comfortable, and breathable they are.
Yep. Because
that's one thing, living in the South now, coming from, South Alabama or Central Alabama, One thing that we definitely work with a lot is high humidity and super hot weather.
Yes.
Okay, which
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks the life out of you. And now where you were at is probably a little bit of humidity, but also a lot of dry temperature as well, and just super hot.
Central Texas, West Texas, dry.
Okay.
Central Texas, you're still carrying 50% humidity or better.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah. See, it's no fun. But the cool thing about these pants are they're super breathable, and I like the shirt as well. So the cool thing though about the pattern, that's the one thing I want to highlight on. Which, by the way, congratulations with the Arrow Hunter Flex.
Thank you.
So we have the closer pattern actually on the Flex saddle, which is coming out. So that's fantastic. So kind of give us an example again about how you got this picture that you really printed on here, because it's not like a lot of other camos out there. It's like it's a textile. They make a pattern and they just multiply it.
Yep.
This is not like that.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So it's one of the blessings of this. Is also one of the curses of it. So again, if you go back to the story there, I took my iPhone and I took that picture. Well, as it got distorted, I'm taking a little small inch picture, and I got to distort it for somebody that's a torso that's 2.5 feet tall. That makes a really big distortion.
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned there was a better quality camera makes a better quality picture. We all understand that. So it's all DSLR time after that from then on. So I said, oh, okay, well, here we go. So as I started going through and I started taking pictures, I go into the field and I say, man, if I want a tree stand, what's the look that I want? If I want a ground blind, what's the look that I want? What colors do I want to see? Which also makes it time dependent. If I have the idea in June and I'm trying to create a hardwood like I just did with the Omega, I had to wait till December and January till the cold snap happened, the snow happened, the leaves turn, half the leaves drop. I had to wait for all that for my idea.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, when I had my first my second, this pattern now, the closer, I had to wait for the spring to come because I wanted that vibrant green. I wanted the good pops in it. So I'm just kind of chewing. I can't fake it because I don't do any editing. This is not a computer program that's like most patterns or most designs will do. They'll take a graphically generated background and then they'll start to overlay portions of real pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. It works. And a lot of their camo is really good. Everybody knows it. But what I've done is a true digital picture, then translate it top to bottom, which gives two things in my mind. One, an absolute clarity and unique detail that is just unprecedented. Second to that is every one of my garments is identical. Mm-hmm. Because it's that picture and it's not in repeat.
Yep.
So you're not catching that pattern or that design picture as a portion, and the white splotch is on your chest, it's on your neck, it's on your hip, right hip, left hip. No, every one of my pieces looks the same. And I've done that with intentionality. So where this design on the closer specifically lands is really, really important. So I'm going to be candid for all of you left-handers out there. I'm really, really sorry. There's just not enough of you in this particular example. So as a right-hander, as you can, from video perspective, I'll try to talk through is what I'm doing. So as a bow hunter in a tree stand, most of you are right-handed. So you're going to anchor with your right, and you're going to post your bow with your left. Well, as I anchor with my right, let me see moving the frame. As I post in with my right, or anchor, you've got a white patch underneath the arm.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes into a green as I come across from my right shoulder to my left. On my left chest and ab, I've got my white patch of that sky pattern. And then as I post out with my left, you get more. So as I'm doing that drawn position and opening up my flank, if you will, to target, just in case I get seen, if I'm not perfect, I've made sounds, I've kicked the stand trying to get in a good set, or I try to draw and it's not as smooth. I'm used to practicing because let's be honest, I've gotten excited in the stand a couple times and it's not as easy as I thought it was supposed to be because it's a different situation. Well, that movement, that sound, that's where most people get busted, right? Target picks his head up, his or her head up, looks up, and they're out the door. Well, what I'm finding in my experiences, my encounters, and what my loyal fans are now saying is they get away with more stuff because of it. So as that happens, as long as you freeze for just that half second, they'll go back to what they're doing because they're not making you out. And to me, that's worth every penny from that moment on. If that's the target buck, if that's the target doe, those nanny does are harder to get than some of the bucks. It doesn't matter what your target is. I don't ever want your situation, your ideal situation. Let's say it's you're eating tag soup all season long. You're on your last set. There's that doe. Man, I get to at least get something this year, and boom, you hang up, and then that's where the moment happens, and she's out the door. Your season's toast.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can buy you the 4 or 5 seconds to get pin on target and send it, now you're filling the freezer.
It's huge.
That's huge.
Yep.
I mean, that's the end of a good story versus a bad story. Like, totally different. Good season, bad season.
Exactly. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the closer pattern for anyone that's listening right now. So the closer pattern is really based off of a photo that you guys took down there in South Texas.
Yep.
And it's at a mesquite. What tree is that?
So it's a live oak. Central Texas, it's a live oak.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's got a little. You can see there's a trunk that goes pretty much from your right side up towards the neck, and then you got all the branches. Now, one thing that's really distinct about this pattern is all the open white areas. That's the sky. When I first saw this, I was like, that almost looks like too aggressive. Okay. I mean, I think a lot of people, they see it for the first time, they're like, that is like, whoa, that will not work. The first thing is like, whoa, I don't know about that. And then, you kind of see it a little bit more, and you're like, okay, maybe. And then you see it up in a tree, because when you're wearing it, you cannot see what your stuff looks like.
Right.
Again, I had seen some of your stuff before, but again, selfie, that can only show so much. When Andrew showed me the footage that you guys filmed of you up in the tree, and literally there's a section in that video that you're using for the trade show where literally you are facing the tree and you just got a black hat on, and like didn't see any of that. It's a shot of like your chest up, in between some trees, and all you do is like turn your head, and I'm like, I did not know that was him. And dude, I'm looking at it, it's ridiculous. And the cool thing about the pattern is, I think up close you look at it, you're like, okay, the farther you get from it, I think the better it looks as well.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
When I mean farther, I'm not talking 100 yards. I'm talking like 20, 15 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards. Yeah. It just opens up even more.
It becomes more effective. And,
yeah.
A lot of you guys have seen it. All of us have shopped camo. And you've seen it. You've looked at it, and you go, okay, man, this looks really good up close. Exactly what you're going. Mm-hmm. You go, but what's that going to look like at 20 yards? What's that going to look at 30 yards? Oh, you're just going to block out. You're going to become monochromatic. And this example, the contrast. So there's 4 major tenets of camo that I'm really trying to play with, right? Mm-hmm. You've got color, contrast, texture. Color, contrast, texture, and depth. Thank you. So I'm really trying to play with both of those. So the fine detail looks really good to our eye, which, let's be honest, makes us want to wear something for each other, and I feel cool, and man, I feel really effective, which is a confidence builder, which is important, man. Confidence is hugely important. Yep. If you're not confident in your gear, what your capabilities are, you're not going to be as effective. Mm-hmm. But there's also that like swagger, like, hey, this stuff looks good. But as that gets away, you lose the fine detail, like the lichen that's growing on the oak trunk. You're not going to see that. But what you will see is that gray shade, and that's important, a la your pine trees. Yeah. So, some of your the green live oak now just looks kind of like a green mass, just like the pine, the branches, the needles of a pine just looks like a green mass at distance. The oak, you get the browns and the grays and the kind of the darker blacks. All those same colors are there. So some of the guys will come and go, man, if you would just make a pine tree, man, just please make a pine tree and I'll wear your camo. And I'm so glad we did that this week because we're in Cahaba WMA and we see these pines, and I was like, you know what? I've had enough guys that are asking me about pines, and I know it works because I've got guys that are using it. I go, let's take the Coca-Cola Pepsi challenge. So I go skinnying up a pine tree, and I'm in that set, and that's the very set that he's describing there is just gone. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you've got a hickory background, a pine background, an oak background, a hardwood, open sky. Like, that light transference is going to come through, and that's what you care about. Even in the darkest of canopies, you're going to have just a little light crack here and there, which makes this closer design brilliant. Yes. Because it's not over the top. If you guys, some of your, as you're listening there, and you can, if you're a camo connoisseur, and you can think of Skyline or Sticks and Limbs or Vertigo is probably the most common one that you might think of. Those are a little bit what I would call aggressive in the white. You kind of used that term a little bit before, and you start to get to 50% or more of white. Now you're going to have your inverse effect. It's going to be a little bit too much. Now you're going to be the opposite of what you want. You're going to be kind of a little bit of a glow effect. So this is dominantly greens, and then your white, and then you get into your darks, your grays, and your blacks.
Well, one thing I like about it, it actually shows shadows on the camo. I don't think there's another camo out there. There's not one that actually shows shadows in it. Like true shadows. And that's what I think makes it look even more efficient. Because if it was all one tone where it was all like greens on there, like you have some patterns where it's all like greens, then you get like some lighter colored browns and everything. This actually has shadows in behind some of the green. And to be honest, when you're in, especially like early season natural vegetation, again, even if there's not much vegetation around you, it shows all these different shadow effects and these highlight effects. And I think that's what helps add that depth to
Absolutely.
it, which makes that deer. I mean, even my eyes, you look through it. I mean, in the video, the first time I saw it, I was looking through you every time. And then you moved. I was like, oh, I was like, oh God, dude. Like the craziest one is when Derek's on the ground, like in the Omega, with the shotgun. He gets up, walks. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, oh, that was all right. And then you freaking step into it. And I'm like, he was right there the whole time.
I was already there. That's right. So So what do you kind of describe there? So think spring turkey. For all of you, let's transition just a little bit, because a lot of guys think that my stuff is just for whitetail hunting. It's great for whitetail hunting, but it really has versatility, hence the name Versa, to go into spring turkey. So in this particular setting, we're kind of on a soft mountain slope, but it has all the deciduous, the brown leaves that have still dropped. It's got all the sticks, it's got all that kind of stuff. It's got a little green vegetation coming through, and he's on a little slope. So as he's kind of hunkered into this slope, he's standing there, and it had just kind of this little crest right behind his head. So as he's tucked in, got his shotgun ready, and his Omega, mind you, the Omega side, the more hardwood look, it's blending in brilliantly. For those of you who can't see, I don't want to take my shirt off, but it has this kind of a shade, your greens, your browns, your browns, your golds, your grays, your darkers. So it's blending brilliantly. Well, as that camera set up, we kind of want to say, hey, it'd be fun to do a bait and switch. Like, it'd be really fun to do a bait and switch. So you can see his head, you can see his hands. Yeah. And everybody's like, oh man, there he is. And as we're going through this 3-day expo right now, I guarantee you, we've probably sold 10 sets off that video alone. And most importantly, that one subsection. This video is like 5 seconds long. So everybody sees him, and he stands up, and he walks out of the picture. Well, as he's walking out, the camera stays looking, and I'm still standing there, and I'm in front of you the whole time. And then I just take my own step, and man, I tell you, we should be recording the people's reactions to this.
Yes.
Because I'm seeing people roll away, people hitting their heads. So we had a guy from Germany yesterday, and he hits his head, Scheisse, which if you're German, you know what that means. And he had this like, oh my gosh, total epiphanous moment. Obviously, he went home with some. But it's just really, you can get away with more with less, if that makes sense. You don't have to have as much stuff. And for me, call me visually bored. I need to see I want to see as much as I can.
Yeah.
Whether that's so that I can get ready or that I can just look at more, and I don't get as mentally bored fast. So I want to get people out of these little tight shooting holes or shooting lanes, and I just open it up. Like, challenge yourself. Get a little closer to that cut field or that cut line edge. Put 1 or 2 trees in front of you instead of shooting through little tight windows.
Yeah.
Because that tight window, if that doesn't fit, you're done.
Yeah.
And how many of us hunters have had this tight lane or this alley or this hole, and that buck or doe crosses, and you didn't get set. But if you had another one a little bit to your left, you'd had something, because they're still in range, and you're just waiting for them to hopefully come back into that. Well, to me, get more open, put a little bit more faith in the reliability in the camo, it'll play.
Well, let's talk about also, the Versa and especially the closer pattern when it comes to saddle hunting.
Right.
I feel like it is a perfect mesh, because just the position you're in a saddle already looks more natural than a tree stand when you're standing straight up.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yep.
And then add this pattern to it, and the versatility to be able to work around trees.
Yes.
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, deer don't have a chance as long as if they can't smell you, dude. Good luck.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah.
So the way this whole hey going, guys. Good to see you.
Got a couple guys come by.
So we have a couple clients that we just saw about 2 hours ago come down and want to shake their hands. Thanks again, guys. Oh, good. So from a saddle perspective, I caught the fever and I caught the craze last fall. So I started studying, started watching videos, just like many of you have listening. And if you haven't, you probably will at least look into it.
Yeah.
But thousands have already jumped into them. That's why everything's, on back order as it is. It's blowing up, right? So I had bought my saddle. I hadn't really gotten into it yet because of the timing. And I'm heading to an expo in Wisconsin in March, and I get an email from somebody, and they say, hey, we're really interested in using your design for one of our saddles. We think it would look perfectly brilliant, exactly what we're looking for and what saddle hunters need. And I said, okay, sure. Let's talk about it. So we ended up working out a great deal. So it was one of three designs that the Kestrel Flex offers. So it's Predator, Fall Gray, it's ASAT, and now it's us. But from that perspective, once you're out there and elevated, you're in the wind, right? I say in the wind. You're fully exposed as a saddle hunter. As a lock-on or a tree stand guy, you can kind of block up against that trunk, and you can kind of use that, let that use it for you for a little bit. But what you also end up creating, and this is for me why I really, really like some of the saddle stuff visually, is you find yourself getting into L shapes, right? You start getting into 90 degrees. Your legs cross, they go vertical, then you got your platform, and you start to get into what I think are unnatural visual lines, right? Nothing straight in, very, 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 very little stuff is straight in nature, much less 90-degree turns. Whereas you get into a saddle, you can use that trunk, and as you put to a lean, you actually start to visually look like a branch or a Y in a trunk, right?
Yes.
You've got a trunk, you lean back against it, now you're just another Y-ing branch. Well, with this saddle, the Kestrel Flex Broadside, and then my gear complementing it, you really are in the wind. I mean, we've got a picture upstairs, and it's just gone. The legs dissipate away, the butt, because where the saddle dissipates and the top dissipates. It all just flows so well together that you end up just getting a canopy perspective from the ground. Even the unnatural angles become canopy.
Yes.
It's really cool.
And the one thing I liked about saddle hunting, and I know we've talked about saddle hunting a lot on these episodes, guys, so if you're not a saddle hunter, you're tired of it, sorry, you're going to hear more about it. We're passionate about it, and we like it. So the cool thing about saddles in general is I feel like you could get away with any camo at that angle, and you look like a dead tree. But the thing is, adding this to it makes it where you don't even look like a branch in a lot of situations, especially if you have a little bit of green around you. You just blend out. And that's what I saw in that video is instead of just having like a darker shade on or something like that, like again, I've ran, everybody knows I ran Badlands all last year, a Badlands FX Approach, and it's a darker color. And when you're sitting there, you look like a dead limb. But when you were wearing this, early season, it's going to stand out. When you're wearing this, dude, Andrew did not do any visual effects to that.
No.
There was no visual effects. He didn't even really edit. I mean, that was like cut edit.
Yeah,
that was
it
cut
really was
video.
Simple.
And
done.
you can't find him in a lot of those scenes. If you did not listen, I got to ask a question. When are you coming out with a hat? Because the black hat drives me crazy. I'm like, if you didn't have that black hat, dude, you'd be gone.
All right, so two things on this one.
Okay.
One is a personal belief that I've gained from experience, and one is a very short answer to your question.
Okay.
I'll go inverse order.
Okay.
The short answer is it's doable. They end up costing me about $14 or $15. To me, to pass on from a business perspective, a $30 to $35 cap. Yes, made in America, but that still starts to get a little excessive.
Yes.
Some guys will still do that. I just don't think that's a really fair ask of people. The other side of that is most guys have their cap.
Yeah,
good
point.
I think a lot of guys have their cap, and I've hunted this cap all the time. It's my lucky cap. I mean, it's a cap, right?
Yep.
But for all of you on video, and again, I'll describe this to you. So, geez, this is a melon, man. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so for all of you that can see me in this brilliant hat, no. So I personally believe that the brim of a cap creates a dark spot, and it draws attention. So what I'm going to go through from those that are listening, as Target looks, right? So if you're at Target and you bust them and they snap up and look at you, everything can be camo except for this, right? This face, but you create this dark black spot. You can see the difference from the light, from the shadows, right? It creates that. So if I were to take my face cover like I normally do, I would have this little dark circle oval that's right at my eyes. And what do we say? Like, don't look at them, right?
Yeah.
So I say, don't look at them. But in my mind, it creates a reference point. So what I end up doing is I take two face covers, I put one face cover on, and I invert the other one. So I call it my tree ninja style.
I've seen you that.
You've
it's
seen
pretty
that,
slick,
right?
yeah.
And it was actually one of the pictures that went viral 2 years ago when I launched the closers. So I want that same light to hit me equally, both on my forehead as well as my face. If it hits my face one way and it doesn't hit my eyes, it's going to play different. And mostly this is just from experience. When I've worn a brim and when I've not, I feel like I've gotten away with more. If that makes sense.
I can see that. Well, and I think it comes also to a lot of guys wear different style hats. I'll wear a structured hat like this hat right here. Again, anyone that's watching the video, you can see this. If you can't, it's just like a basic, kind of like a Richardson. Yeah, ball cap. I like that on some aspects because I like that wider brim, especially walking through the woods. You can pull it down low, don't have anything hit me in the eyes.
Yep.
Also, sometimes I like to wear an unstructured cap, but I think when you get a cap like that or a hat, you can see that bill sits out too. And I think in a lot of situations, especially if you're hunting low to the ground, if you're hunting in situations where, I mean, you're close quarters, deer can see that when you move your head around, they see that bill.
Absolutely.
That's why back in, I guess it was Vietnam, guys, don't hold me to this. Talking about wearing the beanie hat or boonie hats,
Booners,
whatever. Yeah, just because you can move your head around and you cannot, from a distance, you don't see it moving. Okay, you don't see the bill move because it's all the way around you. I don't know a guy that one of the guys that rocked
Justin.
Yeah,
I was just about to bring him up.
He like cut a face mask and like taped it. And it's freaking
so
sick.
He did it. So Justin Leckie up in Wisconsin. So for those of you who don't know me, I really care about my clients, and more importantly, I really want you guys to get involved with my company. So I've already referenced two now. I love to be able to say, hey man, Chris Mayo in New York or Brian Economist in PA. I mean, that's just who I am. Chris Durham in Texas. I love being able to do that stuff because you guys matter to me. So when we hear this kind of stuff, it's just people that are passionate about it, and I know them, and I care about them, and I want to give them credit. So he took a booner, took a face cover, and he basically just ripped the face cover apart and then had his wife stitch it into his booner so that he's true broadside camo. So he also loves face painting.
Yes, God.
I mean, man, if you guys want to do, if you ever want to do a tutorial or look at some of the face paint that this guy does, so he uses Hardy face paint. And he actually did a closer version one time.
Yes.
So he said he took the face cover, he laid it out, and he painted his face to look like the same camo on the cover, on the face cover.
Yep.
Because he wanted it to all be uniform. I was like, and he made it legit. It was absolutely awesome. Just kudos, credit. Just little things, but that's a good way to show what we as hunters care about. Some are a little bit more relaxed. Some are really passionate about it. Some do go to extremes. Some are just do it. But yeah. To the booner, yeah, it's a little bit more even than a brim.
For sure. But, I can kind of get behind that on the hat. And again, like you said, everybody has their special hat. Like, I definitely have a couple hats that I will wear over other ones. And, again, they're never camo.
Yep.
They're always just like some kind of, they're brown. I love a brown or tan hat. That's like my favorite go-to. So that's kind of like what I rock. So I think that's a good point.
Yep.
But stop wearing the black hat when we're doing videos. It's like, because that dude, I'm telling you, you sit there and like you still don't see the hat, but then you move and that's the first thing you catch is that bill, which actually is a great example if you watch that video, guys. Which I know Scott's going to post it up. We got to do a little more. We got to do some editing on a portion of it. But he's going to post that up on social media. You'll be able to see that. But literally, the first thing I see is not the face mask moving or anything. It's literally that bill, that hat coming around, and you're like, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
But now let's talk a little bit about the face mask because I think when I first saw the face mask, I was like, dude, that's a lot of white. Like that's the first thing that hit me is like that is a lot of white.
Yes.
But in the situations that, especially where y'all filmed it, took photos. By the way, Andrew's got like 80 photos for you.
Oh, awesome!
So he's got a lot of extras for you.
Good.
But that's the part that you can't see is the face. Even with all that white on the background and everything, it's ridiculous how you just blend out and you look right through it. Yep. The next thing you know, what you're looking through actually turns, and there's a guy there.
So for those of you who can't see it, those of you can, basically it's see if I get my hand right. I'm not a weatherman, so there we go. Yeah. Basically, it's this section right here. So this, if you were to take the face cover, this block right here. So as you can see there, so for those of you who can't see it, I've got a white spot that's probably about 8 inches wide by about 4 inches tall, a rough rectangle oval. So half of that runs all across the face cover, and then it's the green branch and that kind of stuff on the other side. So when you put it on in its right orientation, and someone to look at you directly, half of your face is white, half of your face is not. But it's in the same scale proportion as the shirt. Mm-hmm. That's part of the important part of that.
Yeah.
So as that proportion needs to stay the same so that it plays evenly. So in this particular example, I'm right-handed. I wear it, and so the white hits my left side of my face. So we are filming from the left. I'm facing straight ahead, so he's kind of like 90 degrees, and boom, there it is.
Yes.
But conversely, it works the opposite side of that. But it's a lot of fun to it. I'll just say that.
Now, talk to kind of tell the listeners how you keep the same ratio of white through all sizes.
Right. That's a good one.
Yes, I think it is.
Remember, it's a picture. It's photography. So what we do is we take our size chart. I have templates. I drop it into the template. And as my small, I can tighten up that image a little bit. So I don't have to stretch or distort or take or move that image as much as I do for a 3XL or a 3XL tall, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have to do those things. But as you get to those bigger ones, you have to move it. And so to keep the size ratio, you're going to make that picture just a little bit larger, and you're still going to scale it and move it appropriately to fit the template.
Yes.
That's the important part. So it's not, hey, I want this shirt fixed, and you're just going to have to move it. That's where you get into trouble. If it, let's say, so what I mean by that is, if the picture was 3 foot height,
Mm-hmm.
and we put that on a 3.5 foot shirt, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
We can't do it. Conversely, if the picture starts at 3.5 appropriately for a 3XL, and you put that on a small, now it's going to dominate,
Yes.
and you're not going to get the colors that you want. So it's all about that template and how it fits and where the ratio looks. So that's one of the things that my manufacturer and I work with and go, okay, hey, look, this is how it needs to be done. Change this, change that, which I've found a guy that's pretty rare. A lot of manufacturers don't do that. They go 1, 2, 3, ABC. This is what we like to do. Now go.
Mm-hmm.
I found a guy that really likes to work with me.
Well, one thing I think that's really important on is I don't believe there's any other pattern out there that, first of all, really does what you're doing, but also keeps that ratio where they're bumping it up for a larger size.
Right.
Because they're just reprinting everything, and again, they're just kind of mapping out like they would for any other size shirt. So, but for a bigger guy, of course, you got bigger frame, wider chest, maybe taller torso. You're going to need those spaces to open up more, so it looks correct.
Right.
Because again, if, like you said, if you had the same size gaps, and as we're going to call it, gaps where the white is, on a 3X, dude, it's gonna. I mean, it ain't gonna look. It's not gonna look right. It's not gonna have the same depth that it's gonna look like if, again, you're doing it correct, like you've been doing. So that's awesome. That's something I really like about it. Now, another thing, you do offer cold season gear.
Yes.
You have in the Omega. I know you have your heavy jacket, which is both rain and kind of a cold weather jacket.
That's
I know
right.
we talked about. What is kind of like maybe? Well, I'll tell you one thing. One thing I do like a lot, especially, is your gloves are fantastic.
Thank you.
And I really like the face mask. So one of the cool things that Scott does with his face mask is it's almost like a cone shape. It somewhat. It flails.
It kind of looks like I jokingly call it loincloth to my customers. So I mean, if you imagine what that looks like. So it's more of a scoop or a spoon, if you will. Okay. So instead of most of your buffs are your typical cylindrical, you rest it on your neck and you pick it up. And that was the first one I did. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it. It's just not what I wanted as an archer. So what I found, I had my second buck opportunity. It's cold. He crosses out, and I've got the traditional style buff on. Well, because it had stacked up and bound up so much on my neck, I'm trying to find my anchor point. And now I'm navigating my buff to get to my anchor point, and I never could find it, so I never took a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I missed on my opportunity because I'm trying to navigate my gear, and I went, that doesn't make any sense. So I looked at it and I cut it and said, well, how can I cover my face but take it higher? So it's 14 inches from top to bottom in the front, and it's about 6 inches in the back. So imagine if you wrap that, it kind of looks like a scoop.
Yep.
So I put it kind of at the back of your head, kind of the rear crown of your head, and then I drape it down over my nose, and it hangs down onto my chest.
Mm-hmm.
So with that same cover, I cover my ears completely. I cover the nape of my neck for those sunny days. If sun's on my back, I don't want to fry my neck. It doesn't let bugs in from the ears or the neck or down the shirt, and I can get under it. So there's enough fabric on the front end where I could lift it up. I can eat a snack.
Yes.
I can have a drink. If I want to spit, I can spit. I can do all those things in frame and underneath my face cover, because traditionally, if you sit it down on your shoulders and you raise it up over your nose, it falls repeatedly. You move your head, there's an anchor point, you pull out of it, and you have to reset it. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's extra movement. You got to reset it. You got to reset it. You got to reset it. Your hands go up, your hands go down, your hands go up, your hands go down. If we're supposed to be really tight and still in that setting, that's the last thing I want to be doing. I don't want to be navigating my face cover when my target comes out.
Yeah, and one thing about the face mask I like is I got away from using a lot of face masks because like the buffs, wherever you want to call them, are so tight, especially early season when it's hot. Even like trying to cover your nose, it gets hot, so you drop it down, and then you got even more showing up like of your face below your eyes, which I'm not a big fan of. And then it gets to the point that it's just, for me, I got a giant head. Andrew tells me all the time. I try to put
cheeks.
I try to put one of Andrew's hats on. I mean, dude, it's like this big. Like for anyone watching the video, like it fits like the back. Like it feels like a little yarmulke.
Yarmulke with a brim.
Exactly. So with any kind of buff or anything, it's so tight on my face, it gets uncomfortable.
Right.
And the cool thing about that, it's loose, but it falls down, like you said, it falls down over your face onto your neck and really almost onto your sternum, especially if you're like sitting down. And I like that because it still gives me the full coverage. It breathes a little bit, but again, it's not snug tight where I'm like, dude, I can't freaking like talking or anything like that. And it feels like it's in my mouth.
Well, from a turkey perspective, you can run a full call underneath it.
Yes.
You can run grunts underneath it. You can run turkey calls underneath it. There's a lot of stuff because, again, it plays room. I want you to be able to get into it.
Yep.
We all know that the air doesn't and the sound doesn't transfer as evenly through a material as opposed to straight to your lips. So instead of blowing through something to create it, that changes your grunt, right?
Yes.
So now it's not that deep guttural grunt that we really it's kind of that muted tone where it's like I'm a teenager going through puberty type of grunt. That's not what we're looking for. So I wanted people to be able to do the things they naturally want to do properly.
Yep.
In my mind.
And I think that's fantastic. Again, is there any kind of maybe wrap this up just a little bit?
Sure.
You got any plans for the future kind of going on into 2019, 2020? Backpacks, any kind of
Yeah.
Okay.
So, with the saddle world blowing up, there's things that I want to do. I've got probably 3 ideas specifically. I can't share them. I think I'm going to – I don't think I know. I will have a prototype. I was actually talking to my manufacturer last night.
Sweet.
That's the beauty of being 12 hours ahead is you just sit there. Actually, it's 8 hours, but we start going through Skype and you get to do that kind of stuff. But, I think we're going to run some pocket placements and locations, some of the versatilities of a pocket, some of the functionalities of clips, adding in loops in particular places that make sense. I think we've got some really fun stuff coming along.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it really, really is. The Versalite's selling like mad upstairs, so that's the reversible. So again, Versa means reversible and versatile. So it's the Omega pattern, the closer pattern. It's moving hot and fast and furious, exactly what I was hoping for when I launched it. And I can only imagine to take that and then to really get saddle specific, but yet still have features that the non-saddle guy can use and benefit from. And I'm so excited to be able to start talking and doing videos like, hey, here's my gear and here's why I created. Because some guys are mad scientists with, like out on a limb here with just boom in a day coming up with a perch or the Ridge Runner or the Podium and just kind of throwing stuff together. I'm excited to be able to say, hey, this feature is going to be for this and this is going to be for this and I'm going to blow your mind with this one. And because I've taken stuff in the past and go, well, what did I like about snowboarding and what did I like about golf and what did I like about this and how do these things relate to each other? Do they? Oh, they can in a proper situation. So, yeah, I'm pretty jacked up for that. It'll be a 2020 release. I'll probably have probably 10 to 20 guys running in it this fall just to, hey, put me through the wickets. What's this going to do? How do we correct it? Was that the right placement for that idea, or should we change it? So
awesome. Well, and just as an overview again for anybody that does hunt in the Southeast or hunts around pines, this pattern, especially the closer, absolutely works. That. So don't let that scare you. It works fantastic. Again, Scott's going to have a ton of videos and photos of that soon that he'll be able to put out there and let you guys see what it looks like in that environment. So there's no worry at all.
And from a customer perspective, again, I've Australia, Germany, Sweden, Washington, D.C., Connecticut, Maine, Florida. I mean, I really have covered with 2 patterns, greater swath of the U.S. And getting in international, which is pretty fun.
Fantastic.
So don't hang up so much to you that specifically say, I want a palmetto or I want a this. Let go of that just a little bit. Give me a try. If you're not satisfied, I'll obviously take care of you. Customer service is really important to me. And in my 6-year history, y'all, I kid you not, I've had 2 returns. 2. Because I handle everything appropriately. I want to take care of people. I want to make people happy. But I've had 2 returns in 6 years.
Fantastic. Well, Scott, where can somebody find out a little bit more about Broadside? Where can they follow you also on social media as well?
Yep. So website to purchase, broadsidecamo.com. Real simple, BroadsideCamo.com. Broadside of a barn or the shot angle that you want. Broadsidecamo.com. Facebook, same thing. Broadside Camo. Boom, it'll hit fast. Instagram, broadside_camo. Get involved, man. If y'all have ideas, seriously, if you have tweaks, get involved. I've done a lot of the stuff because somebody says, here's an idea for this.
Yep.
What if you did that? What if I had this design? I'm dynamic enough and I'm the guy, right? I am the manufacturer. I handle everything. You don't have to go through a board of approvals to make a suggestion. If it makes sense and it makes hunting better for hunters,
Mhm.
and I think the greater masses will get it, then yeah, I'm on board for it.
Yeah,
So,
you're
get
definitely.
involved.
Well, you are very much hands-on. You're a hands-on owner. You listen to the people, and you also post questions and stuff all the time,
Oh, right.
kind of getting feedback. And that's the cool
That's-
thing about you. You're very hands-on, and you're all about the feedback.
Well,
which
I want
is
to make
important.
something that people want. That's it. The reason why I created the company is because there wasn't what I wanted,
Mhm.
and so I kind of took the flag of saying, okay, let's do that. And if I want something, then somebody else most likely does too. So here we go.
Yep.
So here it is.
Well, perfect. Well, Scott, once again, man, we appreciate you guys. Make sure you check out Broadside Camo. Check out on the website, Instagram, Facebook, and also watch out for his video, or a couple of videos he's going to be dropping
A couple.
hopefully
They'll be
soon. You'll be able to kind of see this in live action. So,
Yeah.
once again, guys, we appreciate you listening. Stay tuned for an upcoming episode. Thank you.